Hey everyone, and thank you so much for watching. This is Mrs. Ross Does Math. Today's lesson is for Algebra 1B. This is part of our optional end-of-year unit, and our topic is multiplying radicals. Let's get going. All right, so our essential question for this lesson is, what is the process of multiplying radicals? Now, one of the great things about multiplying radicals is that all of our rules for adding and subtracting them with needing to have that common radical or the common radicand goes away. For this, we get to combine everything together, which is going to make our lives a little bit easier. Here we go. So when we are multiplying radicals, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the radicals can actually be multiplied together. Now, the one thing that they, along with adding and subtracting radicals, must have in common is that they have to have the same index. Remember, the index is that little imaginary number if it's a 2, or a number if it's a 3, that goes in this spot right here, in that little swoosh. So, in that little swoosh, because neither one of these have a number there, our automatic index is 2, which means that they are identical. They are the same. So what we can do is we can actually now multiply these two together. So the first thing we're going to do is begin by multiplying the coefficients. Now the coefficients are the numbers in front of our radical sign. So here the numbers in front of the radical sign are -4 and a negative. Because this negative exists, there's a 1 with it. So I'm going to go -4 times -1, which is going to give me +4. My next step is I'm going to multiply the radicands. Those are the numbers inside of the radical. Now that happens to be 15 and 3. So I'm going to go 15 times 3, and that's going to give me 45. So what I now have to put together is a current radical of 4 root 45. Okay? Here, I'm now going to simplify my answer. So, I'm going to go and find two numbers that multiply together to give me 45. The easiest ones for me are 9 and 5. So I'm going to write 9 and 5. 9 breaks down to 3 and 3, whereas 5 is a prime number. So my grouping of 3's is going to go and multiply or combine with the 4 that's in front. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 root 5. The 5 is going to stay behind because it doesn't have a partner. And I'm going to combine 3 times 4 together, which would give me 12 root 5. So our final answer is going to be 12 root 5. It's pretty easy. Multiply the coefficients, multiply the radicals, simplify your answer. Here we go. We've got a couple of examples that we're going to do together before we jump into the assignment. So let's get those going. So to start out with, we have 3 root 12 times root 6. Now remember, we are going to begin by multiplying our coefficients together. I've got a 3, and then I have an imaginary 1 here. So I'm going to go 3 times 1, which is 3. And then I'm going to go 12 times 6. 12 times 6 is 72. Now I'm going to use that same 12 and 6 to break down 72. It's going to make our lives a little bit easier. So here, I'm going to go 12 and 6. 6 breaks down to 3 and 2. 12 breaks down to 4 and 3. You could also use 6 and 2. Either one's fine. And then 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. So all together, and because I have a lot of little numbers here, I'm going to set them all over on the side. I have 3 root. I have 1, 2, 3 2's. And I have 2 3's. So I'm going to be able to move a grouping of 2's out, and I'm also going to be able to move a grouping of 3's out. So I'm going to have 3 times 2 times 3, and what's going to be left behind is a single 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, times 3 is 18, and then I'm going to have the 2 left. Sorry, that was my dog. So my final answer is going to be 18 root 2. Next up, we have negative 4 root 15. We can always have a negative as long as the negative is on the outside of our radical. We're not at the point yet in this where we're having any negatives inside of our radical. We don't like that. It goes into something else and we're not quite there yet. And then we're going to go times that by negative 8 root x. So we're going to once again times our coefficients together. So negative 4 times negative 8 is going to give us positive 32. And then what's left underneath is 15x. Now 15 is going to break down to 5 and 3, and I only have an x here. Because there are no partners for either the 5, the 3, or the x, our final answer is going to be 32 root 15x. And that's it. All right, now our next one is a little bit more difficult. I have 2 root 5 multiplied by root 6 plus root 12. Now here, I'm going to go ahead and use that box system that we learned when we were talking about multiplying polynomials. For me, that helps out quite a bit. So I'm going to go 2 root 5 on the outside, and I'm going to create a box. And I'm going to put root 6 on one of the tops, and I'm going to go root 12 times the other. So I'm going to have 2 root 5 times root 6. So I'm going to go 2 times the imaginary 1, which is in front of our root 6, which is going to give me 2. And I'm going to have 5 times 6, which is 30. So I have 2 root 30. Next, I'm going to go 2 times the imaginary 1 in front of my 12, which is 2. And then I'm going to go 5 times 12, which is 60. So what I now have is 2 root 30 and 2 root 60. Go. Okay. What I need to do now is simplify these. Okay. So we have 2 root 30 plus 2 root 60. Let's see if we can break this down. 30 is 6 and 5, and I get 2 and 3. Here, there's nothing that I can take out of this. So my 2 root 30 is currently going to stay as is. My 60, however, I can go 6 and 10. 6 is 2 and 3. 10 is 2 and 5. I have a pair of 2's that I can combine together and multiply by the 2 that's already in front of my root 60. So I'm going to be left with 4 root 15 for this, because I'm going to have the 3 and the 5, which are solos, and they're going to multiply together, giving me the 15. And then I'm going to bring down my 2 root 30, because that couldn't change. So our final answer is 2 root 30 plus 4 root 15. All right, here we go. So next, I'm going to use that same box method in our final example, which happens to be the most difficult. You're not going to see many of these on your assignment, okay? And I wanted to give you a little bit of an ease going into this. So here we go. So creating that box, like we did when we were talking about the polynomials, okay? I'm going to have negative 2 root 3 on one, and I'm going to have 2 on the other. On top, I'm going to have root 3, and I'm going to have negative 5, because I have a minus 5. Now, we're going to go ahead and combine things together. So I'm going to have negative 2 in front, and then 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to go negative 2 root 9. Next, I'm going to go 2 times root 3, which is just 2 root 3. Over here, my negative 5 is going to combine with my negative 2. It is going to stay just like that. So I'm going to get negative 5 times negative 2, that gives me 10. And then I'm going to have the root 3 that follows. Now I only combined the negative 5 and the negative 2 because they are solo numbers. They're coefficients. In this case, my negative 5 doesn't have a root following it, so it can only combine with the negative 2. And then lastly, I'm going to go 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10. Now, if we look here, just like in our polynomials, we happen to have a pair that we can combine together. So 2 root 3 and 10 root 3 would combine together to give us 12 root 3. So I'm going to have negative 2 root 9. I'm going to have 2 root 3. I'm going to have 10 root 3. And then I'm going to have negative 10. We know that we can combine our root 3's here together, giving us 12 root 3. Now we're going to take a look at the root 9 here. 9 can break down to 3 and 3. So I can take out this 3 and combine it with the negative 2, giving me negative 6. So I'm going to have negative 6 plus root 12, or plus 12 root 3, sorry about that. And then I'm also going to have the minus 10 that I'm going to bring down. Now I can combine my negative 6 and my minus 10 together. That's going to give me negative 16. So our final answer for these is going to be negative 16. Sorry about that. Did not mean to do that. That's why they created whiteout. So we're going to get negative 16 plus 12 root 3. This is going to be our final answer. Okay? Now, moving into your assignment, if you have any questions at all about this before you start your assignment, please go through, leave me a comment, send me a message. I want to help you understand this as best as possible. So in your assignment, it is from Kuta Software. It's a free program online. Okay. Now you can check your answers through Kuta Software online, but I would like you to go ahead and attempt these on your own as much as possible first. Your task on this is to complete the evens. Okay, last week on the adding and subtracting radical expressions, I had you do the odds. This week I'm going to have you do the evens. So evens only, please. So I'm going to get you started on numbers 2, 4, and 6, and we'll go from there. All right, so for number 2, please make sure that your name goes on each page. I know that it's only listed on page 1 of this. Please make sure it goes on both. This is for period 4, and today is 5/26/2020. Okay. All right, so here we go. So for number 2, it says root 5 times root 10. I'm going to combine those two together and they give me root 50. Next, I'm going to simplify. So I'm going to use that same 5 and 10. 5 is a prime number, so I can't break it down any further, but 10 is not. So I'm going to break down into 5 and 2. Now I have a pair of 5s right here that can move to the front. My 2 is going to stay behind. So our final answer is going to be 5 root 2. Okay. Next up, number 4. Number 4, I have root 5 times negative 4 root 20. I have an imaginary 1 that's in front of our root 5 that's going to multiply with the with the negative 4. So 1 times negative 4 is going to keep it at negative 4. And then I'm going to go root 5 times root 20, which is going to give me root 100. Now, 100 happens to be a perfect square. The same number of 10 and 10 can come out. So, 10 times 10 gives me 100. I can move that 10 out here in front of that negative 4, and I get negative 4 times 10, which is going to give me negative 40. Our answer is negative 40. Because we move both 10s out of here and there are no numbers remaining, our radical sign is going to disappear. All right, and actually I'm going to go ahead and do number 12 with you as our final problem for today. Okay. Actually, sorry, changed my mind once again. I'm going to do 10 and 12 with you. Okay. So let's take a look at this. 10 is negative 4 root 28x times root 7x to the third. Here, I'm going to combine my negative 4 with the imaginary 1 that's in front of the 7x. So I'm going to get negative 4. And now I'm going to go 28 times 7. And that's going to give me 196. So I'm going to have negative 4 root 196. And then I have 1 x here and 3 x's here, giving me 4 x's. So x to the 4th. Now we're going to simplify all of this. I'm going to once again use that same 28 and 7 to simplify. It's just going to make my life a little bit easier, yours as well. So 28 and 7. 28 can break down to 7 and 4. 4 can break down to 2 and 2. So here we have also 4 x's. So we have a lot of things that we're going to be able to pull out here, so I'm going to rewrite this. So I have negative 4 root, I have 2 2's, so I'm going to put those in here. I have 2 7's, and then I have 4 x's. Okay, here we have a pair of 2's that can pull out. We have a pair of 7's that can pull out. And then we have 2 pairings of x that can pull out. Altogether, that's going to leave us with negative 4 times 2 times 7 times x times x. So we know that negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, and then negative 8 times 7 is negative 56. So our final answer is going to be negative 56, and then x times x, that's x squared. So our final answer is negative 56 x squared. Now lastly, we're going to go ahead and do number 12. So number 12 says 2 root 5, parentheses, root 6 plus 2. I can multiply my 2 root 5 by root 6. That's going to give me 2 root 30. And then here I'm going to go 2 root 5 times 2. Now that 2 is only going to be able to multiply with the 2 of the 2 root 5. So that's going to give me 4 root 5. Now 30, when I break it down, gives me 6 and 5, 2 and 3. There's no partner of the 2, of the 3, or of the 5. So that means our final answer is going to be 2 root 30 plus 4 root 5. If you have any questions at all, once again, please leave me a comment, send me a message. I'm here to help any way I can. This is the last video of our Radicals unit. I have enjoyed this so much, although I really wish I was there with each one of you in person. Thank you so very much for watching, and have a fantastic day. This has been Mrs. Ross Does Math.